now we have spent 2 or 3 days explaining the progress in meditation on the way to shamatha, on the way to appeasement. We have already explained that the mind has to be appeased in order to see. When the mind is not appeased, what we see is just our dreams. So now we have learned something about samadhi. It is wonderful to learn about it, but it is much more wonderful to practice it. However much we know, as long as we have not tasted it, we will not be sure how it looks like. So there is a lot to learn as far as the science of samadhi is concerned, and we will devote some more time. Most of this retreat will be concerned with the science of samadhi. But we will always cover some topics, and then after covering one topic we will make a discussion and before starting another topic. Now we have been explaining the progress in shamatha meditation as it is explained in the Chinese tradition. And not only Chinese, also the Tibetan. So we have yesterday pointed out that in the Chinese and Tibetan tradition, which emphasizes the path of bodhisattva, but please do not misunderstand, the path of bodhisattva does not mean that one can neglect the path of the arahat. Unless one is clear about the path of the arahat, there will be always misunderstanding about the path of bodhisattva. So the real bodhisattva knows the 2 ways, and he should know them perfectly. Only then he is a genuine bodhisattva. So this path of the progress in shamatha, as explained, belongs also to the vehicle of the disciples who aspire for the arahathood, and also belongs to the vehicle of the bodhisattvas who aspire for the Buddhahood. The Yogacara Bhumi Shastra of Asanga, which is the main source of our information for the shamatha and vipassana practice, actually explains this path of shamatha in the chapter devoted to the Shravaka practice, to the practice of the disciples, not in the chapter devoted to the practice of the bodhisattvas. The chapter devoted to the practice of the bodhisattvas, the bodhisattva bhumi, posati, only enlarges and elaborates on the many various aspects which make the practice of dhyana, the bodhisattva practice. And what are these aspects? We should be aware of them. The Mahayana scriptures explain they are, especially to summarize them, they are the Ta Xin, Quan Xin, Kung Xin. Three. Ta Xin means a big mind. That means the practice of the bodhisattva, the practice of samadhi of the one who aspires to attain the Buddhahood, is the practice with the aim of the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, of the peerless, highest attainment of the Buddha. This is the big mind. So that means the attainment of Buddhahood is the attainment of the Dharmakaya. The Buddha and the Dharma, even explained in the original Buddhism, the Buddha, one who sees, it is said in the Agamas, one who sees the Buddha sees the Dharma, one who sees the Dharma sees the Buddha. So the real meaning of the Buddha is the Dharmakaya, and that is what is to be attained by the practice of the Bodhisattva. So the practice of samadhi also should be directed for the attainment of the Dharmakaya. The skillful means of attaining the Dharmakaya is what we are chanting every morning in the Heart Sutra. It means the practice of non-attainment. What does it mean? It means things. The nirvana is the natural state of all beings. There is nothing to attain. Nirvana being a non-created phenomena, how can something non-created be attained? This is the skillful means of the Bodhisattva. So the Bodhisattva practices all the samadhis and all the wisdoms, but he does not attain anything. That's how he can get the complete mastery of the samadhis and of the wisdoms. This is a skillful mean. And he wants to attain these perfections in the samadhis and wisdom for the sake of sentient beings. So, in this sense, the practice of samadhi becomes the practice of perfection, in the sense that the aspirant is practicing it for the sake of sentient beings. So here we come to the Quan Shin, the large mind. The practice of samadhi becomes connected with a large mind precisely because if the aspiration is for becoming Buddha, the large mind is a mind which contains all sentient beings. So we have the big mind, we have the large mind, and we have the empty mind. The practice of, in this perspective, the practice of the dhyanas, of the absorptions, become perfection leading to Buddhahood, provided it is connected with the understanding of the empty mind. Empty mind means what? Empty mind means the suchness. Suchness is the nature of the mind. Chan 还是定，还是等值。三昧，定的意思就是三昧，三昧是翻文过来的 ，samadhi 就是三。So, the understanding of suchness is especially emphasized in the tradition of Yogacara. Some of you may have learned the Madhyamika philosophy. I was told in the interview. Some of you may have learned the Yogacara philosophy. The two most important, actually, the two all-including schools of the Northern Buddhism philosophy. One emphasizes the empty nature of all phenomena, and one emphasizes the existence of the mind as the only phenomena. Understanding the mind means understanding the suchness. So the Yogacara philosophy goes back to the original Abhidharma teachings, emphasizing that emptiness has to be emptiness of something. There has to be something in order to be emptied. So that something, and the only thing that exists, is in the mind. And it is the mind itself which is suchness. So we do not want to talk philosophy, we want to talk practice, but yet these meanings are important if we want to understand the practice of dhyana, because it is explained in a slightly different way in Madhyamika and in Yogacara. Now we are using mostly the Yogacara material because the Yogacara tradition is a tradition of precisely it is called Yogacara because it is a tradition of the yoga, of the yogis. The main concern of the yogis is the samadhi. And all genuine traditions of Indian philosophy, they are yoga tradition. They explain the process of liberation on the principle of samadhi. All yoga traditions explain the liberation as samadhi. So samadhi is to be, the science of samadhi has to be thoroughly understood in order to understand the process of liberation. Now, we have already emphasized that in Buddhism we differentiate two kinds of samadhi, the worldly samadhi and the supermundane samadhi. Similarly, there is a worldly wisdom and the supermundane wisdom. Unless you understand this distinction clearly, you will never be able to understand the science of samadhi as explained in Buddhism. The principles of shamatha that we are explaining can be applied to, in a way, to both, to cultivation of the mundane or lokika samadhi and to the cultivation of the supermundane samadhi. Both are attained by perfecting the difference is that the object of the mundane samadhi is a worldly object, the object of the supermundane samadhi is the supermundane object. Supermundane object means, of course, nirvana. Now, as we have learned, the Northern Buddhism emphasizes the concept of suchness. And the suchness is ultimately that which transcends this difference between the worldly and the supramundane samadhi. And it is what is emphasized in the Northern tradition as the ultimate aim of the samadhi practice. So now let us go back to our stages of shamatha. This was a preliminary which we will always develop as we deepen our understanding of practice of shamatha, of practice of dhyana, of practice of absorption, of practice of samapatis, and so on, all different aspects of the mastery of concentration. So this should be kept in mind. So we have so far spoken about the 7 first stages of progress in shamatha. It is important to understand that even after having attained the dhyana, the stages then ultimately lead to the attainment of the dhyana. The meditator always has a tendency of falling back from the dhyana. To stay in a perfect state of dhyana is indeed not an easy task to do. So even after having attained the dhyana, one can fall back on the lower stages, and it indeed happens. Those who have experience of dhyana, they are very familiar with it. That's why so much confusion about the dhyana, about the absorption, because it is said in the books, in the state of absorption one does not hear any sounds. In the state of absorption there is no bodily feeling. In the state of absorption, higher absorption, there is no breath whatsoever. And so many misunderstandings. Actually, the practice of shamatha, just like the practice of vipassana, is an organic process. One goes up and down, just like in life. Even without having attained the dhyana, all of you must have experienced that sometimes the meditation is better, sometimes it's not so good, sometimes you feel completely involved in what you're doing, sometimes you get some ideas, others than meditation, which keep on coming again and again up to on the service of consciousness. Venerable Anuruddha, who was a great expert in the science of samadhi and has spent innumerable lives in different kinds of heaven, describes the different types of gods in heavens according the hierarchy is according to their aura, to the light. So the light becomes perfect with the perfection of the dhyana. The light becomes polluted with the kind of non-perfect dhyanas which we are bound to experience, even when we have mastered the, to some extent, the dhyana for a long time. Only the perfect mastery of the dhyana is, in fact, the privilege of the Buddha himself. Even the great disciples, such like Maudgalyana or Shariputra or Anuruddha or great bodhisattvas, they are lagging behind the perfections of the Buddha, and lagging behind very obviously. In the Theravada tradition, the practice of parami is explained in the scriptures not as being only the privilege of those practicing the path of the bodhisattva towards Buddhahood, but in fact it is emphasized, and it is very convincing argument, that the strength of the perfection decides the ability of those who attain realization of the arahats or of the bodhisattvas, how powerful their realization actually is. The greater the perfection, the more one can do. That's why the first disciples of the Buddha, Maudgalyana and Sariputta, could do more than the great disciples. The great disciples could do much more than the ordinary disciples. So our ability to do things for the benefit of others depends on the power of our perfections, of our parami. So this perspective we should keep in mind also by in our understanding of the perfection of dhyana, perfection of meditation. The more perfection we develop, the better ability we will attain to be useful to ourselves and useful to others. So the perfection, the practice of perfections emphasizes not so much attainment, but it emphasizes the habitual practice. One should get used to the practice and make it a habit. only that which is a habit then becomes our nature. Our nature, in fact, is nothing else but our habits. In Buddhism, we don't believe in self. Our self is nothing but our habits. That's all. If we have the habit of meditation, we will find the meditation as natural as eating food or drinking water. So these stages of shamatha emphasize this training, so that the meditation and the state of spontaneous application of mind to the object without any distraction becomes our nature. Then one can become of great use to oneself and great use to others. Where others become excited, one will remain cool. Only then one will be able to help them. And because of this ability to use spontaneous application of the mind to the object without distraction, without thinking, one will eventually be able to live in samsara, live even in town, like in the jungle. This is the practice of where the practice of the perfections should lead to. So these advanced stages of shamatha should become our habit. Then we will eventually learn in all circumstances to keep the mind without defilements. So with this understanding, let's go back again to our stages. So the first stage is application to the meditation object. Second stage is continuity at the meditation object. Third stage is returning the mind immediately to the meditation object as soon as it leaves it. The fourth stage is the continuous presence of the mind at the vicinity of the meditation object. stapayati, samstapayati, upastapayati, avastapayati, upastapayati. Then we have explained when the mind has ability to stay always at the vicinity of the meditation object, the power, what power will have ripened? The power of smriti, of memory or of mindfulness. Mindfulness actually literally means memory. We should always keep it in mind. Memory means remembering. Remembering what? Remembering what the mind is doing right now. When we can remember what the mind is doing right now, we will be able also to remember eventually what the mind was doing before. How do we remember? We have already explained. Because we are steady on the object of our perception, and our attention does not wobble. Attention becomes firm. When the mind is concentrated, and the mindfulness is the cause of concentration, we have very few problems. The problems in explanation of the yoga always come when the mind loses ability of concentration. We have also emphasized that the memory here does not only mean memory of the object of meditation, it also means the memory of what is to be done, what virtues we need, what factors of the mind we need in order to remove defilements. This is also part of the memory. So the Visuddhimagga, the most important book on meditation in the Theravada tradition, compares the memory to Bandharagarika, to the how to say Bandharagarika, to the treasurer of the king. The function of memory in the mind is like mind being the king of all that we do. The treasurer of the king is the one who reminds the king what good things he has there. And in accordance with his report, the king will fix his policy. how much money he has, how many weapons he has, how many good things he have, how much population he has, how many officials he has. Similarly, the mindfulness brings to the mind not only the meditation object, but also the instructions that one was given, how to meditate, how to avoid the obstacles in the meditation. All that one can clearly see due to the reports of the good treasurer. So we have explained when the power of mindfulness has ripened, one becomes aware. When the mindfulness has no power, one cannot be aware. And when one is not aware, even though one is in the middle of defilements, one does not see defilements. One thinks that defilements is okay, no problem. That's why only mindfulness practice can lead to concentration and wisdom, which reveal us the power of defilements. If we are not mindful, we cannot be aware of the power of defilements. That is why the Buddha says that one day spent in practice of mindfulness is better than 100 years of life. Do you believe it? Most of us will find it difficult to believe it because we are not diligent in meditation. One who is diligent in meditation sees each moment, unmindful moment, as a state of madness. This is what we have explained, how the mind becomes subtle and sensitive due to the practice of Samatha and Vipassana. Without the practice of Samatha and Vipassana, the mind will not become sensitive. The mind will not become subtle. So, even though many defilements are there, it will not see. When you have in a room where there are gusts of wind, a lamp, you will not see any object clearly in that room, because the flame of the lamp will be always dancing. So, as long as mindfulness is there, the mind is always only dancing around and cannot settle on any object. The mindfulness is that which steadies the mind. When the mind is steadied, it becomes aware. And aware of what? Aware of defilements and aware of the obstacles in the practice of Samatha and Vipassana. That is why in the tradition of yoga, the fifth stage of shamatha is called dhammayati. He subdues, he starts effectively subduing the defilements. Unless the mindfulness has ripened, he cannot effectively start subduing the defilements. And when he starts subduing the defilements, the condition is, as we have said, that the gross kind of excitement is appeased. And we have explained when the gross kind of excitement is appeased, the mind feels comfortable and it is easy to think. What happens? The mind dislikes investigating the meditation object. It is called sloth. And the mind enjoys the kind of pleasant feeling. It is a torpor. But this sloth and torpor is not just dozing. It can become also kind of subtle. When the awareness of the meditation object is going away, this is also sloth and torpor. Even so, one may be feeling comfortable. So the meditator fights with torpor by what means? By the power of awareness. Always power of awareness has to be there, because mindfulness has ripened, awareness can ripen. If mindfulness has not ripened, awareness cannot ripen. This is especially emphasized in the yoga tradition. The awareness is based on mindfulness, but mindfulness is it comes with awareness together, yet it is based on the awareness is based on mindfulness. Without mindfulness having ripened, the awareness can never ripen. And only when the awareness has ripened, the more subtle kinds of defilements can be discovered. As long as awareness has not ripened, only grosser kinds of defilements can be discovered. So when the meditator has abandoned the tendency of enjoying this kind of pleasant condition and letting the object of meditation become not clear. When he has overcome that, then he will be able really to appease his mind. So the sixth stage is called the stage of appeasement. At the stage of appeasement, no more gross kind of defilement, only very subtle defilement. If you are working on the breath, what does it mean? It means that if defilement comes in the in-breath, you will be aware of its coming in the in-breath and be able to deal with it right there. If it comes in the out-breath, you will be able to deal with it in the out-breath. You will not wait for many in-breaths and out-breaths to cope with the situation. Such a sensitivity of the mind can be developed. Then, as we have said, you will be at this condition, you will be able to sit long and not be so much concerned with the unpleasant sensation of the body. If they become too much, you just change your posture lightly, or your concentration is good enough to channel the energies in the body so that you continue sitting. So in this situation of shamayati, of appeasing the mind, whenever there is tendency in the mind to sink, the meditator will apply, of course, power of awareness and will apply will. Investigate the object, meet the more subtle object with more subtle mind, with more subtle investigation of the mind, so that the tendency of thinking does not continue. When there is a tendency to excitement in the in-breath or in the out-breath, what will he apply? Again, based on the power of awareness, he will apply upeksha, he will apply letting go. So he learns to balance the mind so that even he will be aware of the tendencies of the mind to sinking or to excitement in the beginning of the breath, in-breath, middle of the in-breath, or end of the in-breath, or of the out-breath. As at that time, the appeasement will become very obvious. What remains to be done to make the mind appeased completely, and that is the next stage of shamatha practice, vyupashamayati. That is a seven stage now. Shamayati is a 6th stage. Dhammayati is the 5th stage is subduing. 6th stage is appeasement. The 7th stage is complete appeasement. Vyupashamayati. At the 7th stage of appeasement, the power of awareness has completely ripened. So that the defilements will not have power to grasp the mind. And at this stage, what is to be learned to get a perfect one-pointedness of mind is the equal effort. The effort of the mind or the application of the mind to the object in yoga, not only in Buddhist yoga, also in the Hindu yoga tradition, is called abhoga. Abhoga means application, anabhoga means application, diligence in application, anabhoga means lack of diligence in application. In Chinese they translate, Xuanzang translate yung kung pu yung kung. So if the one-pointedness of mind becomes perfect, the condition is that the meditator learns neither to yung kung too much nor to yung kung too little, middle effort. Chia xing ping teng. Equal effort of the mind in bringing equal effort of the mind in being brought to the object. So this abhoga, anabhoga is a very important subject in understanding the yoga. If you read the commentaries on the yoga books, like Vachaspati Mishra's commentary on Patanjali Yoga, you will find big section on the science of abhoga, the turning of the mind to the object, or effort one has in turning the mind to the object. This science of yoga is a very subtle science, and one has to have a very subtle mind to understand it. So in English we even don't have this appropriate words for these subtle conditionings of the mind, which were the subject of knowledge of the yogis. So when the awareness has ripened in order to completely remove even the slight tendency of the mind to thinking and to excitement. The equal application of the mind has to be learned. Equal effort of the mind in bringing oneself to the object has to be learned. And that that means the equal effort in bringing mind to the object. It is not easy. Cha xin ping tan. Now we better let me finish my talks and you can ask. If everybody starts interrupting, it will become a problem. After the discourse, we will have discussion. So the effort has to be equal in order to get rid completely of the tendencies, slightest tendencies of thinking and excitement. So this is called removing abhoga and anabhoga, removing diligence in bringing mind to the object and non-diligence in bringing mind to the object. It is difficult to translate. Even such a great translator like Xianzang has difficulty to translate perfectly. Just yung kung pu yung kung.
Can you repeat it again? The diligence part that you just said?
I don't understand.
No, can you repeat what you just said about the diligence?
Neither too much diligence in bringing mind to the object, nor too little diligence. The equal effort. It is compared to ajaniya. No one. What is ajaniya? Ajaniya means the Afghan horse. The Afghan horses are the best horses. They were the horses of the Indian emperors and of the Chinese emperors as well, or the Central Asian horses. The one horse was worthy a kingdom. Both Indian emperors and Chinese emperors were most fond of the horses. The best horse, Ajaniya, was a horse like mentioned in the Mahabharata. You just give him a sign and it starts galloping by itself. Then you don't need to pull the, what do you call it, the rein, and you don't let the rein completely loose, but you just slightly hold it and it runs by itself. You don't need to do anything. This is removing abhoga and anabhoga, the tendency to too much diligence or too little diligence. You just go on galloping and the horse runs by itself. That is a good comparison. So here we are. We have attained the equal effort in application of the mind to the object. So we have done much for our perfect fulfillment with what we're doing. So we have attained the 8th stage, the stage of one-pointedness of mind. At the stage of one-pointedness of mind, no tendency whatsoever to excitement and thinking. So the horse is galloping by himself, and the rein is not too tight and not too loose. The reins, plural, right? If the meditator gets the habit, and it is not easy, of this kind of condition, he then attains samadhi. So the 9th stage is in samadhi, which comes through the habitual practice of one-pointedness of mind. So the samadhi in this tradition is explained as the habit, development of the power of habit in the one-pointedness of mind. So to get a perfect samadhi is not an easy job. To attain samadhi is quite an easy job. To attain the samadhi with some black spots in the halo, it's an easy job. But to attain this kind of pure samadhi is not an easy job at all. So there is in the middle discourses of the Buddha, there is a sutra called Upaklesa Sutta. I think number 128. The Bhikkhu Bodhi is now giving discourses on the middle. I don't think he has covered that. There you will find how the Buddha himself has practiced under the Bodhi tree this kind of perfection in samadhi, and he has used it for supernatural powers which enabled him to see with utmost clarity how he, in his past lives, he was himself reborn again and again according to the laws of karma, and how we beings die and are reborn in accordance with our karma by the supernatural power of seeing the previous abodes and the supernatural power of divine eye. But enough for today. According to the Upaklesa Sutta, this complete purification of samadhi, which Buddha has succeeded under the Bodhi tree, then led to his perfect enlightenment. So that much for today, and we will make a little break, relax, and start with the questions and answers.